Hey, this is Russell Todd from Friday the 13th Part 2. He knows you're alone in Chopping Mall, and you're listening to Gag Me with a Knife.
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow.
What the hell are you singing?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
What? No, that's not the song.
She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes.
Hey.
She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes.
Yeehaw!
Is that it?
Song. Yeah, so we will explain that later. But until then, hey guys, it's your favorite final boy and girl, Alex and Emily, coming at you in a new episode of Gag Me with a Knife, a weekly podcast where we dissect, disembowel, and shred the best and worst slasher movies. For today's episode, we're going to be gagging on 1989's Moonstalker, which, despite the somewhat misleading title, is not a werewolf movie and has absolutely nothing to do with wolves at all. So, as always, Emily has the original and priceless VHS copy, so let's hear what the back of that box says.
I'm going to go ahead and warn you with the back of the box. It kind of gives away one of the good parts of the movie a little bit, but whatever. I know. A group of campers on a weekend survival trip get a crash course in carnage when they encounter a psychotic killer who makes Friday the 13th look like Christmas morning. Clad in a straitjacket and wielding an assortment of deadly weapons, the Moonstalker lives up to his name as he slaughters the helpless campers one by one. Worse, he arranges the bodies in a chilling puppet theater for his own perverse amusement. It's up to Debbie, the only surviving camper, to bring the curtain down on the Moonstalker's ghastly performance if he doesn't get to her first. 1989. Your thoughts?
Okay, well, on the surface, this movie has just from your plot even, has a huge blend of Friday the 13th Part 2, a little bit of Mad Men, and a little bit of Halloween when you see the movie and the POVs from the killer and all that kind of stuff. And while this movie has, even though this movie has, potential unoriginality, I still really enjoyed the movie. Those movies were successful for reasons, and or at least I enjoyed them for reasons. So I liked this little mashup of all of them. And I read this, and I don't know how true it is, but for '89, you might expect this to be shot on video, but since it was shot on film again, it gives us those early '80s vibes, the picture quality, and it just made me feel like.
Yeah, I wonder if it got canned for if it got canned for a while and then they put it out in '89. I don't know that, but
no
that's
clue.
what it feels. That's what it feels like.
Definitely, and I go back and forth on different time periods with something shot on video or shot on film, and knowing what the quality should be and what to expect. But for an '89 movie, this definitely did not seem like an '89 movie.
No, not even, and not just the quality of the film, but just how everything is filmed, and and just the whole storyline and how everyone acts. It does not feel '89. It's a little too serious, I think, to be '89.
Yeah. And while there are way more characters in this movie than the entire Friday franchise in total,
way too many.
That does just mean we get a ton of deaths. I think there's 20 deaths in this movie. It's an hour and a half movie with 20 deaths, so that's pretty cool. I thought the music was pretty good, even though it got a little redundant at times. And the creepy at first is the killer at first is super creepy. We'll talk into his transition a little later.
That's the downfall of the movie.
Yeah. And we talked. You touched on it in the synopsis on the back of the box, but there's one scene in particular that is just haunting, and there's a few scenes that made me jump and scream. So that's my initial thoughts. What are yours?
I've seen it twice. I hadn't heard of it till not this year, but I guess maybe 2019, 2020. I heard of it, and I watched it, and it started off super strong, and then when it got to the camp, it was still really good, and then at some point it just kind of plateaued, and it kind of went downhill a little bit until the end with what we'll probably talk about later, and then that part was awesome. So
yeah, and to kind of preface this too for anyone listening, because we might get a little lost on this one. There, like I said, there are tons of characters, and this movie has kind of you don't really know what's happening at first, because there are three sort of scenes.
There are three intros, yeah.
So and we'll get to them all a little more, but one of them is about just these random teenagers out here camping. Then another one is about this family on a little vacation camping. And then the bigger one is more about all these counselors at this like wilderness survival training camp kind of thing. And they aren't real. I don't think any of them are necessarily connected other than he's killing throughout these.
No, they're only connected that they're in kind of the same area, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think this is like somewhere in Nevada. So
yeah, it is. It's near like Reno, I think.
So anyway, so the movie kind of starts around, and there's just these people bebopping and dancing in the snow around a campfire, in front of a camper, like in the middle of nowhere. So you're kind of like, what's going on? And it's you're getting this streamlined POV shot of like somebody kind of walking through the snow. And P.S. real quick, I was about to fall asleep in a good way because it's like ASMR orgasms because the crunch in that snow is surprisingly soothing as hell, and you hear it the whole movie. So I really. But so, I mean, then it's just basically people start walking into, like, they're dancing around, they leave the campfire, they go into their camper, and I mean, I guess they just start getting killed really quickly, like kind of on screen and off screen. Is that what you recall?
The first group I don't recall really at all, almost. Like, I mean, they're like really vague to me.
You know, I think that the camper they sneak into might be his camper.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, maybe.
They sneak into a camper, and I'm pretty sure then, so they get into it, and then basically they just get killed. You see like an axe like playing outside the trailer wall, and then you're like, okay, well, I guess, you know, ho, 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 he's in their house, three little piggies, and he comes in there and just basically kills them. But I don't know that you necessarily see it. You just hear them scream and see some blood and some stuff, but you know that they're probably dead. It's a horror movie after all.
Yeah. And then we get to the second group, which is these parents. And man, that guy is so annoying. The dad.
Which guy? Oh, the dad. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the dad. And the daughter is kind of a HBIC wannabe over here. I don't even know.
Totally wannabe. You could tell she just wants to be popular, and she's not.
So it's basically a mom and a dad, and then there are two kids, and they look like they're teenagers.
Yeah, they are.
And they're just basically talking about, like,
they're talking about how they want to go to California because they're not that far away, and they don't want to be cold, and they hate their lives. And the mom is inside, like, trying to secretly watch soap operas under the blanket because she's not supposed to be doing it. And she's like, why can't we just use the microwave for the steaks? And, like, no one wants to be there except for the dad.
And the dad is totally trying to pull off a Clark Griswold family vacation. They're going to do all these things with barbecue and hamburgers. They're going to have this good old fun family experience. And they're all just like, this sucks.
Yeah. And then so we see someone pull up, and it is this older guy.
Well, and the trailer he pulls up in is the one from the previous night. It wasn't. I thought it was a coincidence. I thought maybe they all kind of looked like that. I don't know.
I didn't notice it too much just because they all kind of look similar. So to me,
so it is that trailer, and so basically he just kind of shows up as this little old man, and he just like starts chopping wood with an axe.
Well, first the dad is like, she was like, we have driven past like a million camp spots, and we picked this one, and now you're gonna be on it. And the guy was seemingly very nice to him, and was like, I'll park over here, and you don't even notice me. But they end up like asking him to come over and then hang out with him. Well,
and right then he's also like, I'll leave you alone. By the way, I raised my kid here. It's so forcing us on this issue. Like, so there's this kid. Okay, well, where's the kid? Where is the kid? And why are you talking about it now? So you know, then they kind of.
And he's very obsessed with the fact they have a microwave.
Oh, he's obsessed with their microwave oven. Yeah. So much that he continues to call it a microwave oven.
I mean, this is 1989, so it doesn't really seem like it's that far-fetched to have a microwave, but okay. Well,
exactly. I mean, Swanson had their TV dinners now for how long now? So
Hungry Man.
Yeah, it's that. All of them. I mean, good Lord. So they kind of do their own thing for whatever, but then I think it's that night, you know, the dad starts to feel like bad that the guy's over there by himself. Like, he's talked about this kid and there is no kid. So then they invite him over and he starts talking to, feeding on the dad's kind of agenda here. He's like, oh, your family's great. Like, your kids are great. Oh my God, this is great food. And then all of a sudden he just starts talking about how he would like feed his kid and like do these weird things. And like, he would like feed deer out of his hands and stuff like that. So he was also trying to comfort the family, be like, oh, there's nothing out there, because they're all thinking there's bears around here and all these things. So he's basically just trying to comfort them. And then again, we're sort of getting back into this son storyline. So basically then he starts talking on and on about, he's got this really cool new motorhome camper, the dad starts talking about his new motorhome.
Talk about bragging. I mean, God.
Yeah, he's like,
new money.
It's got central heat, a microwave, an ice box, all these things. But then I guess he starts. Does he start telling the story, or is this the next day he starts telling the story about the?
No, I think it's that. I feel like everything happens that night.
Yeah, so I guess then he does then start telling him about how his kid this kid that he's mentioned a few times got sick and got taken to the hospital, and they basically just say his response was like he was never been the same again, and it's like, okay, well, is he dead?
You almost feel like he's telling a story about his dead son. That's what, like, at first, like, I knew that it was probably gonna be the son because it sounded like it wasn't gonna, that he was like gone or something.
Yeah. Well, then basically, this night of little campfire dinner is over, and Pop goes back to his camper, and basically he walks into the camper, and there is this motherfucker back there, straight jacket and chained, with a sack head, and I'm just like,
scary. No, that's this, and you know what? I know we say Jason's sack head is scary, but like this. Because it's not really a sack. It's like a It's like a helmet you would wear, like a soft helmet you would wear, like in one of those soft rooms at a mental hospital.
Yeah, well, and yeah, because it's not a pure on sack. You're right, because it also gives me advice for anyone who's seen the movie Us. Pluto, which is the young boy's like alter ego, or whatever, has this like sack on his head too, but it's more of a real designed helmet sack thing.
Yeah,
so
it's so creepy. And that in itself, which we'll get to later, although, we're not going to talk about this forever or anything, but soon enough, this whole thing will be a reason that the movie kind of goes downhill for me. Anyway.
Same. So then basically Pop's on this like control mission or something. We still don't even know why he's back here. We just see teeth like gushing forward through the mouth hole, and he's like lusting, and he's like,
they have a microwave.
He's like, they have a microwave. He's basically like, hey, go kill them. I'm gonna unchain you, but just remember, I broke you out of the hospital and returned you home, and I can just as easily take you back or something.
But that's what he's been doing. He's been having his son go and like kill campers and like bring back like their stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So and at this point too, it's like. You're like, I don't know. This whole family dynamic is a little weird.
Also, his name is Bernie, and he does say that in like the beginning.
Yeah, he does.
When he's talking. So just FYI, when we talk about Bernie, that's the guy's son with the sack head thing. So
yeah. So basically, he unchains him, but like undoes the chains, but leaves them on him. So he still has to carry around like. These chains and everything.
I know, it's like he's not a Menendez brother yet. I mean, like,
exactly.
Jesus. And so, also, even if he was, his dad's making him do all this stuff. But yeah. I digress. Anyway,
he's doing it because he's literally having a lust-gasm over a microwave oven. So,
well, I mean, but that's because of his dad. It's like he's mentally handicapped. So, like, who's to blame here?
He's very quiet too. Anyway, so basically they let him go and he walks off with the axe, I think. And then it flashes forward to the two kids, and they're just sitting there doing something. And the brother, and then they're in their little camper, and the brother's like, "Where are you going?" And she goes, "Out." And I was like, "Okay, but where? You're literally in the snowy woods, and it's not like there's going to be a Three Bears bar where you get in free because you look like Goldilocks. Like, get out of here, Goldie. Get out of here. Like, what are you going to do?" She's like, "I'm going to sit by the river and listen to music." Okay, well, that's boring and also freezing. So good luck listening to your Tiffany.
I think she took like cigarettes or weed or something.
She took cigarettes, yeah. So there's that.
Luckily, that was lucky for. I mean, okay, the end for her is still not good, but it is lucky for her because what happens.
Oh yeah,
is like she's not there because Bernie comes and attacks the people in that cabin.
Oh my God. Well, not cabin. He's back in their camper, and then
I'm sorry, I meant camper.
Yeah, they're having this conversation, and you're looking at them, and you can see the back window, and all of a sudden, he pops up behind this window and starts just crawling in the back camper window. Okay, that is like reason one I will never go camping. Well, I mean, I kind of hate nature at night and bugs, so maybe that's rule number 3. Why I don't go camping? Someone's gonna crawl in.
Camping is and people that camp, I just don't get you.
Yeah.
I just like why would
Right when he basically kills them, he instantly like starts making eyes with the microwave in the ice box, and I'm like, okay, just loot it, kill him, and take it.
Well, he does. Then he decapitates. Well, we do know the little girl's name. Her name's Tracy, but we never know the others' names. So her dad is decapitated.
That's Harry. Harry and Vera are the parents.
Okay, and then Vera, how is she killed?
I think that isn't she just she's just killed in the tent. I mean, in the cabin.
Yeah, and so is her Tracy's brother or whatever his.
And I don't even know I forget how he was even killed to be honest as well. I don't remember. Like I'm sure it was with the axe, but I mean, so the creepy part was him crawling in the back window when they're like in like and you know these old campers, the window is where the bed is. He literally just crawled into bed with them.
Yeah. So then does he take their camper? What does he take?
Who's he? Bernie or Pop?
Yeah, Bernie starts driving something, doesn't he?
Later on, he starts driving like a truck and stuff. This is after transformation. He hasn't transformed yet, basically. But also,
at the same time, his dad has died of a heart attack. So.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? You're right. Hold on, real quick. Yeah, I know what you're saying. So he gets back to. I don't know if he gets back which order this happens in.
I think he goes back to like his dad, like his cabin.
He goes back to his cabin because then, or his camper, and he brings back. Actually, not yet. While he's killing the son, the girl walks in, I think, and she finds everybody dead. So then he starts to chase her, and then he does get there. He gets their family car and chases her down and runs her over. That's what happens.
Yeah, but that's after he finds his dad. And also,
when he finds his dad dies with the microwave in his hand. So he takes the stuff back to his dad already, and his dad dies carrying.
Yeah, and then
his dad has a heart attack and dies.
Then he strangles someone named PJ before he runs over Tracy.
Does he really?
Yeah, because that's how he gets the truck. So I guess it's the person driving the truck.
Okay, yeah, there are. I have a note. Basically, why are there all these people, like, are you out at night? And maybe then, so maybe he takes all his stuff back to his dad.
I think PJ was on his way.
Yeah, he takes
to the camp survival thing.
He takes all the stuff back to his dad's house. Then his dad dies of a heart attack, and then he just walks away. And then that's when he changes out of his sack head into this, like, he takes the sack head off and he starts to look like you don't see him, you don't know it's him until he starts to kill again. But he's like wearing aviators at night and like a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy from like a serial killer standpoint, but not creepy like, you know, it'd be creepy if that was somebody walking to your house in you know, the city or something. But
the Staghead was far scarier.
And then that's when he takes that truck and runs her ass down. Okay. Then like right after he runs her down, he pulls up to somebody else, and it's he's like, and then they're asking a question, and he's like giving them directions, and he speeds off in the middle of the response because like he's like, yeah, it's 4 miles that way, and then he just like peels out and starts tearing ass across the Nevada snowy mountain here, trying to get I guess that girl that saw him that's going to that camp. Again, this is where it gets a little confusing.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm just like, there are too many people out and about in the snowy nowhere. Go back in your cars and camper and like go to sleep.
Because there's a guy from Seattle that he kills with his shears. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he did. A lot of these people don't even have names, so that's another thing. So I guess now though, after this little weird hitchhiking in the mountains, snowy thing, they end up at this wilderness camp.
Yeah, so we cut to these two guys that are up, I guess, like up the trail, waiting on people to arrive so they can tell them which way to go. And like one of them seems like, the nice guy, and the other one's like just there to fuck or whatever.
And the one that is like the nerdy looking one, which is weird. It's not what you would have expected, the nerdy one. And then I think that comes back later on, but the nerdy one is definitely the creep. I'm not saying that nerds can't be creeps, but that's not the trope that you would have expected in an 80s slasher movie. Oh, you know why? Because they changed the location. That's why they had to get out there and redirect them.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So and then I don't know if he starts to impersonate counselors at this point to get into this. I don't even know why he's going to this camp. I mean, there's really no reason or explanation as why he ends up at this campground. Like for where all these counselors are.
There's no, because like at least like Jason has a backstory of why he's killing but this just is really just like he's just crazy, so he just wants to kill people. I mean, it's not like they have a bunch of microwaves and TVs there that he can take.
Well, they do have that supply shed full of like 700 weapons. I'm like, why is that there? I guess it's for the wilderness training, but well,
it's a little much, and when you consider the two people that are very much into S&M and stuff, then I guess it makes sense. But
or because like he finds his home, but is that home part of the counselor's camp, or is that just separate?
If it is, they never explain it, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, because I think that's where all the weapons were. But I thought that they had called that like the supply shed or something, but maybe not.
No, I think they did, because I didn't never think of it as his house. But if they did, they did a shitty job telling us. So
yeah, and then so now at this camp, we see all these different camps, and it kind of reminds me of MASH, to be honest, the way it's all set up. If anyone's ever seen MASH, but then it's still snowing and everyone's walking around, and I started laughing because at this point, every time that people start running in the snow, every now and then, sometimes they'll squish the snow and it'll sound like a little wet fart, and it just made me, like the 5-year-old in me, laugh every time. It wasn't as soothing. It was like, sorry.
So what? This is where it kind of goes off track too, because you don't have fun. There's not really too much fun to be had at the camp, because the people that were directing people, more people come. They all turn down the nerdy guy, whatever, and they all go down to sit at the fire. Where, by the way, the guy who tells the story of Bernie. Longest story I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, so imagine the story from Friday the 13th Part 2 when they're sitting around the fire, and then imagine the story from Mad Men when they're sitting around the fire, but then
multiply that by like five.
It's the longest ridiculous story about a maniac who's killed campers at a nearby campground, and I don't even know if I assume it's supposed to still be Bernie, because I'm assuming at this point we realize that his father had unleashed him multiple times to do this, and it's sort of an urban legend at this point, but it is true.
But there is a house though that later on I'll get to it, but then we can go back. But so there's those two people that really like to play hard with each other, like that couple.
You mean the Rambo Linnea Quigley?
Yeah, and like but like Marcy, one of them. Like the dude, he's like, well, I got to go do this, and he just like leaves her there, and then she's doing weird moves, like she's looking in a mirror, and then for some reason the cute guy
she's practicing with her whip.
Well, okay, and the cute guy
dressed up like a commando.
more like Red Sonja, but so the cuter guy and this girl go off. And he keeps telling her to be careful because if she gets her clothes wet, it's going to be cold or whatever. And of course she falls into the creek. So they find this house. They find this house for them to go into to like get warm and like dry her clothes off. And before they go in, there's like a pile. She's like, "Where did that pile of wood come from?" And he just so nonchalantly just goes, "Must be wood Bernie cut up." Like, what? Like, he says it like it's a fact. It's like do you know that that's Bernie's house and you're
Well,
just like going up in it?
They do, because part of his story that he told them, the second part of the story, so he talks about this maniac that's been killing people, and then he goes back in time even further and tells them back and that there was this family, and there was a boy named Bernie, and his family was kicked out of this house because they were trying to turn this entire area into like a Parks and Rec area.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
so he's just making the joke that he's like, oh, probably something that Bernie did.
See, but I didn't get it like that. That's not how I received that. I received it as like he was saying that as fact.
Well,
maybe it says he's a bad actor.
I think he was trying. Yeah, I think it was him being a bad actor. He's trying, because this is the nerdy one, I think, and he's trying to like get in their pants, and we don't know that. So I think it's bad acting and bad directing and bad everything. But I think he's trying to flirt with her, get her scared, because he's telling her not to get wet. I mean, get out of here. Everyone in this movie is taking showers, having sex, and I'm like, it's 100 degrees below zero, and you all are just walking around wet and naked the whole movie. I don't get it.
And yeah, I think we should go over the kills just at the end. Like
we can, yeah, because because we've already missed a couple.
Yeah, and there's no reason to go through every single one of them until like, you go through them all at once. But
because right before this scene, like right during this scene or right before this scene, there's another couple having sex in a tent, and he pulls out a fucking Friday the 13th 7 tent rip, charges through the tent, and starts slashing them to death, minus the sleeping bag kill. But
he also does the thing. They also have the kill where the water's too hot.
I was wondering. I put, what the hell happened to that girl in the shower? Why does she pass out and scream?
It's because the water is hot.
I thought maybe he'd put acid or something, because then immediately the guy.
Maybe, but I mean,
don't know. They wouldn't explain if he's an alchemist. So
that was the time period that they always thought that water would kill people if it could get too hot, which is okay.
I mean,
especially since it's out in the fucking woods where it's snowing. Yeah, I'm so sure.
How hot could the water get? I mean, it made sense. The only scene that's ever made sense to in my entire life that I think is they tried to do it in Valentine, the movie, but then he ends up drilling her. But then in one of the Halloweens, is it 4? Two, where he drowns her in that skull, and that scared me of hot tubs for life. But that might happen. But honestly, I don't know that a hot tub could actually get hot enough to kill you. Wouldn't that be a safety feature?
It would be. It would be at all times. And not even Halloween 2 is that possible.
Oh, you know what he does? He does like break the control valve.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm just saying.
So it is scalded. Yeah, one of the kills says scalded in the shower. So it's not acid. It is just because it was hot.
Yeah.
So around this time, the police are starting to show up because, I guess they had found either the other campers from the beginning or the family. I think it's because they found the family.
I think they found the family as well. Yeah. They were in a designated area.
And so then they show up, and then this guy who's clearly the cop that took a case hard and is now an alcoholic shows up. And that's who I think he is. You're right, the guy that shows up.
I think so.
I mean, like, because they wouldn't let him in that much to a crime scene if he wasn't a cop. So I'm assuming, I feel like he had maybe he had worked the Bernie case before and it had gotten to him, and so now he's like an alcoholic. Or something.
Yeah, I mean, he must have worked the Bernie's case because he definitely. They end up at Pop's because he definitely recognizes Pop.
And also,
he knows that. Then he opens the camper and he basically realizes, Bernie's not in here. Bernie's on the loose, so he knows what's going on.
Yeah, and also the sheriff makes some comment where like he assumes, he's like, I don't know, it can't be Bernie. It's probably just some junkie. What? Why would you assume that the killer is just a junkie? Like just a junkie.
It's war on drugs. The war on drugs subconsciously.
Great cop, like that's not if someone was a junkie, I highly doubt that they'd be spending their time killing people. They'd probably be spending their time go out and trying to score heroin or whatever. I mean, like,
exactly.
Like they're like I mean, and you're probably not going to find a lot of drugs at like camp at like places where people are camping. Or like, families that are camping.
Families maybe, but I was like, oh no, I know.
Maybe the first people, and like maybe you'd find weed and stuff, but like
Yeah,
a
junkie.
junkie.
I would never call
That
someone.
would, well, that I mean, you know, maybe yes,
either.
maybe one person there would have heroin, but that's not the first place you go to score.
You would not go to the snowy middle of nowhere.
You'd be like, I'm basically in Las Vegas.
I'd go to Reno or
I'm in
Vegas.
Reno. Instead of like going down the strip in Las Vegas, I'm gonna go to a horrible off the beaten track or whatever, like
A wilderness
counselors training and buy some heroin. I mean, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then I made a note that said that dead guy's face looked normal to me, but I don't know what I was talking about. So
I think we'll get to that. I think I know what you're talking about. But part of the story too, when that little nerd guy and that girl are all going around and they go off together and stuff. At one point he goes, "Oh, you really like me?" And she says something. He knows how to. She goes, yeah, you know how to drink wine out of a Boda. And I was like, well, I drink Boda boxes after going out of extinct, so she must like me too. But I also drink black boxes. I'll drink Kirkland's Costco boxes. I can drink any wine out of any box, so maybe she'll like me too.
Oh God. Yeah, and the thing is with the movie too, and the reason that it gets confusing, and it probably is going to be one of our shorter episodes, I'm assuming, because I don't know if we have that much more to talk about. So
you always say that, and we always do. We're good.
You're welcome. Well, you're welcome, everyone, if this is a shorter one. So but like, you don't get to like know the characters well enough to give a shit. Even like the ones that run into that cabin, presumably Bernie's cabin, and like you're supposed to be able to get to know them. I think they're wanting to do some character development with them. It doesn't really work.
Yeah, I think that's Bobby and Victoria, and then Bobby and Victoria do end up running into Bernie at one point, and he's like 5 feet away, and he like just launches this dagger or something, or maybe it's a little hand axe. I don't know, but it hits him right in the forehead. And I know I've even seen still images of this, and I wrote it down. That girl does not even react to a dagger or an axe being thrown into her whatever's forehead from like 5 feet away. And then she just goes and runs, and like I think she tries to get into a couple cars, but that scene made me scream because she gets into the car and it finally does start, and I'm like, oh God, he's gonna be behind her. She's been running too long. He's already hiding from her. And then this hand comes into the window, and I screamed, but he's on top of the car, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, and then I think we're getting to
the
your part. So I'll let you go into this part because you warned me about this, and it was incredible.
Yeah. So the guy that's maybe a cop, we don't know, that's taking the case too hard, the one we were talking about earlier, he knows it's Bernie, so he's like gone rogue and it's like looking he's like looking for him. And so he comes up to he comes up to this campsite, and they're playing "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain." It sounds like people singing "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain," and he sees these people from the back, and their heads are just like swaying back and forth, dancing, like with their arms around each other,
singing, like they're very into this like bonding exercise. Or
BT Dubs, you'd be singing something more fun than "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain," but anyway.
That's a bop from the past, and I sing that at least that song and "Someone's in the Kitchen with Dinah" all the time. Get out of here.
You sing "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain" all the time?
All the time. When I walk out of the shower, I don't usually use the word mountain. And
you thought that Jeff was going to divorce you over boarding house?
Well, he's not here when I do that. I'm singing to my cat. I'm like, I'll be coming out of the bathroom when I come. Woo woo. I'll be going to feed my kitty when I come.
I do sing this. I do sing. He likes to potty. He likes the potty.
Oh my God. We are the weirdest pet owners.
My girl wants to potty all the time, potty all the time, potty all the time.
Oh my God. So exactly. So I sing.
Okay, back to this. Sorry.
Back to this.
I sing a lot of songs to my animals. So,
yeah. Me too.
Or I just change the lyrics to have Steve's name in them. But okay, sorry. So he walks up and he sees these people swaying back and forth, and then he realizes that first he sees the stereo, like the boom box or whatever that's playing the song.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he sees this little board that's attached to a rope, and it's just like it's pulling them back and forth. And then when he comes in front of them, that's all the dead campers.
All the dead campers.
It's so creepy. If there's any reason to watch this movie, it's for that.
100%, 100%. Yes, and it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube for anyone asking.
And it's not a horrible quality, because I think it's about the same quality as it was when it came out, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
But, and then, so Bernie's in the tree, though.
Bernie's in the tree, and the reason it's also moving is because that girl that he just got into that car is strung up and hung, and she's bouncing up and down, which is making them move.
Right, yeah.
It's like a pulley system.
Yeah. And so, something happens, and it ends up killing... Oh, he throws a spike down.
He throws a big javelin at him,
which just so happens to puncture through his
entire body.
Cop, whatever guy.
Yeah.
And then, when that guy dies, because he's trying to get the girl down, he's like pulling.
Yeah.
So when that happens, it makes her drop, and she dies. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's over here like Buffy the Vampire Slayer couldn't throw a spear through a vampire as easily as Bernie one-armed hanging out of a tree.
You have to be really strong, like getting that through someone's whole body.
I mean, I couldn't even get it through a t-shirt. Let's be real.
I know.
I mean, like, especially at that angle. Again, it's not like it's some zombie.
I probably couldn't even get it. I probably couldn't throw it at the ground and get it to stick. I mean,
I couldn't get it sticking in 8 inches of snow.
I mean. So then I get right after that, it kind of cuts again to the, I guess the following morning. And
Ron and Debbie.
And it's the sheriff and I think it's his 2 sheriffs. I don't know. It's 2 cops, and they're right.
Well, I mean, right after that, it's, I still think it's Ron and Debbie before that morning, to be honest, because we still have that little final chase scene with Ron.
This is where I totally zoned out, because it's a long chase scene. It's
a long chase scene, and then it's kind of confusing because at one point, you think that she kills, Bernie. I think she thinks she shoots him at some point, but then at one other point, she's like walking around in somewhere, and like this head comes out of nowhere, and she like stabs it in the neck with the machete or something. Like, and it's like, oops, you accidentally killed the wrong person, because like that trope was not totally overused at that point, but it was trending heavily. So that other cop, she kills, she like cuts his head off or something, or stabs him in the neck or something. The next morning. And then, you think that she shoots whatever, and then the guy she was with gets impaled with an axe or something too. But then the next morning is what you're talking about, I think. And there's all the cops are there. There's ambulances everywhere.
And the worst actress, one of the the worst actress in the movie, at least, is the female cop.
The female sheriff cop girl, yeah.
Horrible. And so she's like, tried to act like a macho, I guess, like walking around like she walks around like she has like a bit, like, what's it called, the tobacco in her cheek.
Well, and she's got that
out. That's how she walks around.
She's got that huge thick leather bomber jacket on, like she's just like she's trying to be even harder than the sheriff in like Misery.
Yeah. So she walks up to one ambulance, and they say something to her, and then she, like, of course, she has to hit the side of the car, like, okay, go on.
Yeah. On your way, partner.
Yeah. And then that's a slumber party.
Oh.
So then, but then another car comes through, and she's like, "Okay, go." Because is it in a sheriff's car?
Oh, well, before we get to the final thing on the ambulance, she's talking to this person in the ambulance, and there's 2 people in the back of them. Debbie's one of them, and I forget the other one. Might be Taylor, but that's just from my memory. But I don't remember who Taylor really is. But then she goes around the ambulance after she talks to the guy, and they're like writhing around in there, and hell, the people, the paramedic, or whatever, put them in straitjackets, and all of a sudden, Debbie like lunges towards the window.
Yeah, towards the window, yeah.
And like starts screaming, and like clearly she's crazy now, or needs some. Well, she probably just needs like some sedatives, to be honest, and she'll probably have PTSD for life. But hey, at least she's alive, I guess. I don't know. Final girl's syndrome here. And then that's when she hits the car and like, hey. But then an SUV comes down, and it's like a sheriff's car that you're talking about next.
Yeah, and she's like, go on, and it's Bernie.
It's Bernie. Because you can see it. Yeah. And he just drives away.
I love how he's insane and has been in a straitjacket most of his life, but he can drive any car.
Yes. Like what? All these things. And he's very calm. And he's like, I don't know. He seems like he's friggin' like, I don't know, like some sort of like, he's like walking all hunched over and creepy when he has a straitjacket and his hood on, but then when he turns into Aviator McGee, then he's just some sexy straw chewing, I don't know, sex killer. I don't know. It was so weird.
So there were 21 deaths, but that's because I'm counting the dad. But so we have a lot of these don't have names. So we have a male camper that was killed by Bernie with an axe, a female camper killed by Bernie with an axe. Then there's 2 more female campers that were killed by Bernie, doesn't say how, and then a male camper killed by Bernie.
Yeah, there's a lot of off-screen deaths.
Yeah, then Ben Bromley, which is Bernie's dad, dies of a heart attack.
Pop.
Tracy's father, which you know his name, I didn't.
Harry.
Harry, decapitated by Bernie with an axe. Vera is her name?
Vera,
okay.
Yeah.
The mom of Tracy, it just says she's killed by Bernie. And then the brother's killed by Bernie. PJ strangled by Bernie with a chain. Tracy is run over by Bernie. Guy from Seattle killed by Bernie.
Hey, with the shears. Hey, question: whenever he kills that guy with the chain, PJ, does he take his? Is that his clothes that he takes for him and starts wearing? Oh, okay, yeah. I got you. That's why. Okay.
Jane killed by Bernie. Okay. Marcy, legs cut off by Bernie with an axe.
That was a fucking awesome scene.
Yeah. Regis, which is her boyfriend, I think.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah.
Shot in the mouth by Bernie.
He walks in. When he walks in and sees Marcy like laying there, he thinks that she's kind of playing something. He grabs her legs to kind of like, I guess, put him over her head and like start going at it with her. Yeah, and then her legs rip off because in the previous scene with Marcy, like my second or third favorite death in the movie, she says something about off at the legs or off at the knees. Well, Bernie swings the axe and cuts both her legs off in one fell swoop, and she just kind of like falls over.
I thought about kids. I have no legs. I have no legs.
Oh my God, I hate you.
That guy on the bus.
Yeah. So then Regis gets thinking sexcapades and pulls her legs off and starts getting like beat with them and then shot in the mouth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Then Sophie is scalded in the shower by Bernie. Ugh, so annoying.
Well, I'm afraid to take a shower now. So just so you know.
Oh well, that's just your excuse.
Like if I turn the heat all the way to level Mordor, then maybe I'm gonna die.
Okay.
Accidental.
Chet is stabbed in the chest by Bernie with an axe. Bobby has a knife thrown into his forehead by Bernie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Vicky's hung on a tree by Bernie. Ron is stabbed in the head by Bernie with an axe. And
how do you stab somebody with an axe?
It doesn't have on here the javelin kind of thing. But the deputy accidentally stabbed in the neck by Debbie.
You're right. It doesn't have that weird detective who got fucking buffied.
But it has deputy accidentally stabbed in the neck by Debbie with a machete.
Yeah, that was it. He like pops up in a window.
So I guess there were actually 22 deaths because they didn't put in the one with the guy being.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. I mean, there was so many people in this movie. We don't blame anyone for losing track.
Yeah. So what would you rate this?
I'm going to give it either a solid 3 to 3.5. Like, I know it's not super original. I know there's a lot of characters, but at the end of the day, I was never bored. The acting was not terrible. And maybe more towards a 3 because a lot of those scenes are just like thrown together from all sorts of other things and other movies. And, but I wasn't bored ever, and I definitely recommend it. And especially if you want, some people really just like watching old feel slasher movies, and this has everything you need, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3. What about you?
I give it in between a 2 and 2.75 and a 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I don't know how many times I'd watch it again, but like I probably will watch it again. And I do suggest you watch it at least once, especially for that.
For that one scene
Yeah.
coming around the mountain. No, and if I had this on, I don't usually think about going to YouTube to watch movies. So, but if I had this in physical format, I would probably have it on in the background more often.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because it's got some pretty good dialogue because like if you start trying to wonder what the hell's going on, you get a little bit lost in some of their dialogue, and I think that you might miss some fun quotes that so I'm gonna watch it again pretty soon.
Well, in my mind, I'd forgotten the whole beginning. Like, it could have just started with the family for all I remembered.
Exactly. I thought it did because I rewatching this in preparation for this episode, I hadn't seen it since I think last.
You know what? I actually think I had to exit out of it and go back in because I thought I was watching the wrong movie.
Well, and neither movie were about werewolves. I don't like the title of this movie, but
well, he's the Moonstalker.
Well, I guess he's.
And they were gearing that up to have a sequel because he's still alive. So they probably wanted the name Moonstalker to be like the next Jason or Freddy or something.
You know what? We need to start a little campaign here to fund movies for sequels. Like this needs a sequel. Hide and Go Shriek. Hide and Go Shriek needs a sequel. There's another one.
Yeah, I can't remember,
but whatever. We'll come back to that later. But
maybe Killer Party. I don't know.
I was going on about how there needs to be sequels. Yeah, Killer Party needs a sequel, which starring my fave.
No, but there's another one that's like obviously set up to have a sequel, and it doesn't.
Yeah, we got to figure this out. We got to find a way, and we can do it. But is there any trivia on this that you have or that you know?
No.
You said no. Well, in her downtrodden response, I promise you guys, this isn't a terrible movie. No.
Well, I mean, there just isn't, because it isn't. I mean, it's not bad by any means. It's just that not many people know about it. And the only the only fun fact is that the guy that plays Bernie is like real famous, pretty much. He's like been in a bunch of episodes. He was in General Hospital for a really long time.
He's been in a lot of soap operas.
He was on Seinfeld. He's been on, he was also on like Days of Our Lives. He played Snake. He was on an episode of Dexter. So he's done a lot of stuff. So
yeah, and then this is also pretty interesting, I think, from a slasher's perspective. I don't really, other than Iced, but like, there's not a lot of slashers that take place in the snow, let alone a snowy camp. Like at least in Ice, they were at a resort. There's other like resort slasher movies for snowing and skiing, but this is the first like snow.
Because you wouldn't usually have a fucking camp survival course when it's fucking snowing outside.
Well, it's a wilderness survival, so that's why they have to survive in all climates here. Okay,
Whatever.
I'm making it make sense, and all the fashion and all the fur hood coats, like fur necklines. But I mean, if that's all we got, then I'm gonna say stay gagged on the sweet, sweet sounds of snow crunching.
Stay gagged on on that boombox.
Stay gagged on sackheads and straitjackets.
Stay gagged on all those steaks that the dad wanted to prepare.
Stay gagged on Rambo Linnea Quigley.
Yeah, just stay gagged and
stay gagged on microwave ovens, and also stay gagged on singing songs to your pets.
Yeah, always do that, because if you're not, then you're making a mistake.
And one of the songs I sing, it's real short. I'm going to do it real quick. I even got to the point where I'd sing it so much when I first met my husband that I'd sing it in another room, and I'd like walk in and he'd be mouthing like he knew the lyrics. It goes, Merlot Jacques, meow meow meow. Purr, purr, purr. Gimme belly rubbins. Gimme super lovin's. Purr, purr, purr. That's it.
Mine is one of mine was Rocky is my friend, he is my sunshine. That was the first verse, but the second verse is Rocky does my taxes, Rocky does my lawn work, Rocky picks me up from school every Wednesday, Rocky cleans my house, Rocky does my dusting, and he is a sweet boy.
So yeah, right. Stay gagged on all of us singing pet songs, and if that doesn't inspire you to want to do a Kickstarter or GoFundMe for us to have our own band, then I don't know what does. But and then stay gagged on following us on social media and YouTube.
Oh, and TikTok now.
Oh, yeah, we got a TikTok now, too, so let's gag all over that.
Gag Me With a Knife podcast, all one word.
Hells yeah.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bomb, 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 dang, 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 ding, dong, ding, blue moon, 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 blue moon, dip, 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 moon, 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 blue moon, dip, 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 moon, 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 blue moon, dip, 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 bomb, 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 dang, 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 ding, dong, ding, blue moon, 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 you saw me standing alone without a dream in my heart. Dang, 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 ding, dong, ding, blue moon. You knew just what I was there for. You heard me saying a prayer for someone I really care for. And then there suddenly appeared before me the only one my arms would ever hold. I heard somebody whisper, please adore me. And when I looked, the moon had set to gold. Oh, blue moon. Now I'm no longer alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Dang, 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 ding, dong, ding, blue. Dang, 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 ding, dong, ding, blue. Bomb, 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 dang, 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 ding, dong, ding, blue moon.